Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here with 4 games on Monday. We're going to be taking a look at the 3 that are going on a little bit later as that Hornets and Pelicans game tips off a bit early today on a Monday. We're going to be looking at some sides and totals. Also have player props, plenty of them in here for you guys. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Continue to follow along with us. First game we're looking at here is Indy. You're like the home dogs here to cover 6.5 versus the Rockets.
6.5 and maybe a little sprinkle at the money line plus 205. I mean, I'm down to fade this Rockets team without Kevin Durant. I've been off their offense in general with Kevin Durant, and now you take the only real perimeter creator they have away against a Pacers team that's playing a lot better. 3-1 in their last 4. They're 5-1 in their last 6 at home. The defense has been very solid. Defense obviously going to be solid for the Rockets in a lot of areas that you need. So the total at 218.5 is an appealing under to a degree. But I mean, what both these teams do is run you off the line, make you drive. Indy, that's what they want to do. Like, they've shot efficiently from 3 lately, but at low volume. They want to attack the basket, get things going with Siakam and Mathurin now finally back in the lineup. Jarris Walker actually playing well. Nembhard playing really, really well in his last over the last month at home. I trust this squad with everyone they have to at least put up a good fight here. They're not tanking for draft position like a lot of teams that are at the bottom of the standings. They are playing for pride and playing well when they have their guys. And yeah, I mean, it's the Rockets offense that's been choppy. Like I'm saying, they depend on second chance points off turnovers, fast break points. Without Kevin Durant, they have no half court offense really. And the Pacers are actually top 10 in all those categories in their last 6 here. Number 5, limiting shots at the rim. Shout out Jay Huff coming off the bench, doing a good job there. And the Rockets, meanwhile, are actually giving up the most second chance points and second most paint points recently. No Steven Adams. That's going to be the case indefinitely here. But their offensive rating is 7 points worse without him because they can't grab as many O-Rebs, and they're only 9-6 without him. So I think without Durant and without Steven, I'll take the home dogs.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I do expect Alperen Sengun to be all over the place today. I think he's going to have a pretty big game. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the Pacers coming along enough to be able to beat some of these teams that might not be at full strength, especially recently having some pretty good wins against a couple other shorthanded teams. So I'm going to be going with the 76ers here as they're taking on the Clippers on the second night here of no rest. So yeah, I think we still have James Harden still game time decision. I believe there's some uncertainty around Kawhi's health as well. And you've got the 76ers as dogs here playing in a situation where I think they're pretty much on the rise. Now, Paul George is going to be out for 24 more games after he sat the last one. So we'll see when he's back. I think it'll probably be about playoff time at that point. So we'll get some playoff P. But either way, the key here is that Joel Embiid's playing. And Joel Embiid's playing full minutes. And that's the key. And when he's been playing in the last 10 games, the only teams they've lost to, they lost to the Knicks by 3. And then the Cavs shot lights out against them and beat them twice in a row on the back-to-back that they had against them, or just the home and whatever. They played each other twice in a row, whatever we're calling that these days. Other than that, like they're handling business because of Embiid's ability to handle things down low, right? Dominating the paint against both Toronto and Orlando recently. Obviously, teams like New Orleans and Sac, they did as well. They kind of have been playing down to competition at times as well, struggling against Sac the other day, but still handling business enough that they've built big leads with Embiid like they did against New Orleans, and then just sort of settle into that game at that point. It has been a bit of a downturn in Maxey, but I trust what's going on with Embiid and everybody around him more than anything. I think 30 plus points is pretty realistic for him. I don't always love having to bet that many points for anybody, but Joel's on one and he's had 30 plus now. And I think it's like 7 straight games. And I'm just going to buy into that because in those roughly 7 straight games or so, this team, like I said, has a nice points in the paint disparity big time, where they've been really, really bad defending the paint. They've gotten better. They're now back up to like middle of the pack as opposed to like bottom 6 in the league in terms of giving up paint points and points at the rim. Joel has a good amount to do with that. He is hanging down low a bit more. His rebounds have gone up. His rebound chances have been up at about 18 per game in that last 7 that I keep mentioning. So I think this is like the turning of the tide. When I see him rebounding, there's just something that's like, yeah, dude, that's what you should be dominating everything. You should be this black hole around the rim on both sides of the court that engulfs everything around him. And he's finally turned into that in a way that I trust Philly now because they're back to full, essentially, sans Paul George.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I mean, the rest advantage against a really slow old Clippers team at this point. I mean, we're reading the tea leaves a lot with the injury report here. Lots of important questionable tags I do think Harden plays after sitting out for personal reasons. Only the second game he's missed all season. I do think Kawhi sits because he played one back to back early in January and then was out for 3 games the next week with like ankle injury. So I mean, I don't think they're gonna want to push him on a back to back. So I was with you on Embiid at least 25 plus and Harden to get this number 30 PA. That gets you even money, but I think if you go with the Zoo double double, you're getting a nice plus money juice here. And the theory with Zoo is, I mean, sometimes you worry, does he have anybody to guard? Is he going to be playing that huge minute slate? And yes, he's going to be mirroring Embiid's minutes at least, and posting more usage because if and when Kawhi is ruled out, he has double double in 7 of his last 8 without Kawhi. He's averaging 16.4, 12.6 in those matchups. The only one he came 1 rebound short against Charlotte because he got injured down the stretch, and Charlotte's also number 1 limiting centers. And Sixers have been very good limiting centers, but Embiid, there is something to say. I would throw a little bit of water on the 30 points. His last 4 road games, the Sixers have not been on the road much in January. He's played 4 on the road. He's scored 24 a game with a 113 rating, 126 rating, 32 points per game at home. There might be something to say about like the travel, all the inflammation, the knee stuff. Like maybe he doesn't quite have the same bounce when he has to fly across the country like this. I still think he's good for 25. I mean, he has dropped plenty of points against Zoo when they met a couple of years ago. But as far as the Harden stuff, like this is the pivot point for your SGB because he just shoots a ton against the Sixers, and he's gotten to face them the last couple of times without Kawhi. And now, of course, I mean, if he does not have Kawhi again, we're looking at like 40% usage, like when these teams played in last November. This November, he went 7 for 25 from the field and still got to this number because he was just willing to hoist against the former team. And now in 12 games without Kawhi in the season, 31.6 a game, taking 11 threes, 35% usage. Sixers are bad limiting assists. They're really bad limiting OREBs. And part of that is, again, Embiid not maybe having the same lift to dominate those boards. They have the worst defensive rebound rate in the NBA the last 10, and they've given up 16 OREBs in their last 3 on the road. That is by far worse in the league. So that plays into why I like Zoo a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that people are going to be missing, whether it's Harden or Kawhi, you think they're going to be missing, then yeah, Zoo just steps right up and continues to score a ton there. So I wouldn't be worried about either of those guys if they're actually playing. It's the on-ball stuff that's going to help James Harden out against a pretty good catch and shoot defense, et cetera. So they have the weapons if Harden and Kawhi are playing in ISO to like do some work, but I just don't think that it's going to be that way with the lack of rest. So I would take Zoo big time. But Sengun, I'm also unconcerned about anything about this game with Indy. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. As you mentioned, it's only 6 points, and you actually like the home squad to cover at the very least here as dogs. And I think Sengun's just an easy look. It's basically like I'm playing the Pacers. Who's the opposing center? It's really just where we're at. Pacers still giving up the most rebound chances per game in the league, and just overall, they are giving up a ton to centers as well. Bottom 5, limiting that position specifically. And it's really just like there's always just that one guy who's ever living down low for the other team is the guy that you trust to be able to do that. And with no Steven Adams, Sengun's just going to be big center consistently now. He's not really playing on the floor with Capella. Capella's giving him a breather, and then they play like a couple minutes together. But other than that, he's going pretty full here, like mid to high 30s as needed. And then, Capella gets the rest, like 12 minutes or so. So when you just put him out there for that much time and you are not worried about a blowout like we shouldn't be in this one. I mean, the market's dictating that for us as well. Then you believe he's going to play full minutes. If you look at some of the recent centers, if you look at the centers in general, actually, since the month of December, centers are averaging 28% of an increase in their average rebounds per game against them. That's about 2.5 on average extra rebounds for the opposing center to the Pacers since the start of December. That's a lot. That is a ton. And since Sengun has been really the sole center and sole player playing center, like I said, Capella is still just getting limited minutes. Adams has been out for about 7 games now or so, and we've got Sengun up at about 21 rebound chances per game in that time frame. So I love him on the boards here. Double is just not really worth the money, but if you wanted to take like a 20, 25, and 10 kind of thing, I'd feel really good about that too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to take on a lot of offensive usage with KD out. We only have a 2-game sample so far of KD out this season, right? But I'm with you on that because I think in this matchup, Jabari and Tari are going to be guarding like Siakam and Mathurin and dealing with these drives, and therefore Sengun's going to have to step in and board up. I mean, more so than we've seen when those other guys are available to swoop in from the wing. I also think that those guys being essential makes Reed Sheppard a little less likely to play, to be a lock for minutes here. I mean, like I said, 2 game sample without Durant, he absolutely torched your Warriors. He went way under this number against the Suns. Suns are very good limiting spot ups and threes, and so are the Pacers. In fact, they're number 1 in January, limiting corner threes, number 2 on above the break. Reed is implied minus 165 to not hit 3 threes. And so, like, he scores a little bit in other areas, but I mean, we're talking like 41% on his drives for 2.5 points per game in the last 10. Like, he's not a prolific driver of the basketball. Like I said, the Pacers have been better limiting that stuff. I mean, and who's he out there guarding? Like, that's always the thing you love when you bet an under, is like, is the coach just going to be like, get this guy out of here? He's getting hunted too much. I mean, Nembhard has been lights out at home, 125 offensive rating at home since Christmas. TJ coming off the bench, like, you might match up with him physically, but he can blow right by you, Reed Sheppard. So I think that there's not a guarantee that he suddenly sees a ton of minutes just because Durant is out. It's probably in his consistent role. This is a bad matchup for him. His rebound chance rate, of course, is very low. His assist rate is, of course, I still pretty low here on this Rockets team that doesn't get a lot of assists anyway. And the matchup would indicate that Amen Thompson is going to get a lot more done here against the Pacers, the way they limit spot ups, the way they do give it up to the primary ball handler, and they don't let these shooting guards, hit them with threes or on the pump and go.
Yeah, for sure. It all adds up. It all makes sense. I would be leaning towards Amon Whale before Reed. And I think, I mean, Reed, I saw 17.5 points, and I'm just like, I just cannot get there with that, especially in this matchup. I don't think he's earned this, like, oh, well, just come in and get the usage, young buck. Like, I don't think it's like that at all for Houston with Reed Sheppard. So we'll see how many minutes he gets. But even if he is playing like 31 minutes, 17.5 points is insane for him. I would not be going near that except for a fade. But I'm going to go to Naz Reid. We have limited games. It's high for sure. Like, don't get me, this number is high. I'm recognizing that. I'm just taking Naz Reid in the spot with the potential for Randall and or Ant to not play. If one of them doesn't play, I'm good with 16.5. And I think if both of them play and this game is a blowout once again, which it's being held down to like 7.5 on the spread, mostly because of the Ant and Rudy question, or Ant and Julius Randle questionable tags. So like either way, like I think if they're both out, yeah, 7.5 is fair. If one of them is in, that's got to go up 1 or 2 points. And I think Naz is just going to be a beneficiary of a game that shouldn't be too close. Jaren Jackson's still questionable. Not sure if he's playing. He missed the last one as these teams just played a couple nights ago. But Naz went off in that one. Naz has been going off as guys have sort of been in and out of the lineup, mostly Ant here and there. And then a game without Rudy. I think it was a suspension actually for him. He's not really hurt or anything. But it's not like Rudy's taking away from Naz's offense. And they've played both of them together a bit more consistently, with Julius Randle actually not needing quite as many minutes. Again, in that blowout of 17 points last game against this squad. Like, Memphis is just a joke. They're playing everybody between 22 to 27 minutes. Nobody's getting real minutes. Islo is just kind of like, I feel like he's just saying, y'all are auditioning for who's going to actually be here next year and just hand selecting them. So it's just it's a train wreck there with Naz just cleaning up, and his usage has jumped up big time in these last 5 games to where at this point, like, he's averaging enough shots that you can project him consistently for about 18.5 points just based on his increased usage rate, up consistently now above 20%, close to 25 in games, because he's taking shots and is a little bit more blowout proof. Even though it's like the end of the fourth and things are out of hand, all right, Naz is coming out. But if it's the beginning of the fourth and you just want at least one guy out there that you trust, you're keeping Naz out there to keep getting a couple more.
Yeah, it's a good call, and it's probably a blowout if Jaren Jackson can't go. I mean, 6 threes, 20 points with those guys healthy on Saturday, and Randall. So of course he can do it. Memphis is a bottom 5 3-point defense. Naz has topped his 3-point mark in 6 of the last 7 here, and he's implied minus 160 to hit 3 threes. So and he's a guy who I do trust to score in a variety of ways, not just the threes. So definitely like him, even if those guys are active. Getting back to that Philly Clippers game here, I mean, Kelly Oubre's got to step up, of course. It's a question of what stats you want to add. I do think the rebounds are going to be good to add here, and it's only 1 assist to add, because this is all on the assumption that Kawhi does not play. If Kawhi does not play, he's not guarding Kawhi Leonard. Maybe he spends some time on Harden, but that still affords you opportunities to pinch down and get boards. This is a game that could get into a lot of rebound chances if both teams continue to play defense the way they have. And it's just a huge jump without Paul George. We saw what he did with the double-double in the first game of the suspension here. but the last 5 overall, 17.6, 4.4, 20% usage on the season, 17-5 versus 8.8 points per game when Paul George is healthy. And the unders he's had in his last 8, he's gone over in 6 of the last 8, is when you had guys like you had Paul George going off against the Bucks, or when you had Maxey going off against the Kings. So he's actually, Oubre, been a lot more productive against top 10 defenses that can do things against Maxey to make it more difficult, so that the Sixers aren't just running this vanilla offense where it's just like, all right, go ahead and attack Maxey. It's like, no, they're going to force it to the corner, force guys like Oubre to pump and make a play. And he can actually do that. And I think the Clippers, because they're so good defensively, like top 3 on this hot streak, they're going to force the ball into his hands more, make him do some more stuff. And yeah, I mean, even if Kawhi does go, he's actually posted really good numbers in his last 4 against Kawhi, 17.5 points per game. And yeah, so whether it's the points, I think the points first, then you think about the peripheral stats.
Yeah, I'm fine with just the points, really. I don't know what's going to be left for him. The existing data just says like Kelly to score without Paul George, period. Even like with Joel, without Joel, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to close out with one more in that Clippers game. I think Collins' stuff is just a little bit low when you're going up against the 76ers, especially. Like you're not necessarily – I'm not worried about Zubac getting, let's say, like 10 boards. I don't think this is clearly not like a Zubac to get like 14 rebounds kind of day. It's just not really what happens when you're guarding Embiid and you get pulled a little bit from the basket when he's playing top of the perimeter. You also are just talking about what I don't even know what he weighs these days. He's probably about 300 pounds, probably 320 in that range, 7'3". It's just a bigger dude than Zubac, and Zubac is usually the bigger dude. He's just not in this one, and that's why we consistently talk about sort of 4s, 3s, versatile like wings that come in and get boards and are capable of it. I mean, John Collins isn't one of those guys that's hunting boards. He's Miles Turner-ish in that, like, the reason he's getting rebounds sometimes is because he's guarding guys closer to the basket, not because he's like a rebound merchant, because he's certainly not, but it's just a low number for a guy that's going to be playing power forward potentially without Kawhi Leonard. I don't know for sure that Kawhi sits. I just doesn't really matter to me. Kawhi's also not really hunting rebounds necessarily. So I think when you look at his like fair market price, essentially, I think 5.5 is about fair. I give him a little bit of a bump. You get nice odds on the bet, and then you get a little bit of a bump from the fact that in the matchup, like we'll call them like 3-level scorers, or guys that are sort of versatile bigs in a sense, versatile wings. Those are the guys that I like to go up and get boards against Philly.
Yeah, this was 4.5, and with reasonable odds at open, and people were like, that raises an eyebrow right away. Like John Collins to get 5 boards, high in probability there. So now it's -160 on that 4.5, but I think you can bump it up one more. I think 6 rebounds is a fair projection.
Yeah, 100%. So that is all the time we have for you on this little slate. Going to have a big one on Tuesday. We'll be back with that as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And until we see you next, happy betting.